So, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. My name is John Lunn, aka Jonnychipz, and in this video series, we talk all things cloud with experts and advocates from right across the industry, covering a wide variety of topics, from skills and careers through to technical overviews and soft skills. So, whether you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or LinkedIn, thanks so much for tuning in. It's really appreciated. Please do take part in the chat below. Drop us a comment, a like, and a subscribe. That would be absolutely awesome. Okay, so my next guest is a software engineer, an Azure MVP, a Microsoft certified trainer, a public speaker, an author, and if that wasn't enough, she's a magnificent community leader and a cloud developer advocate. So based over in Sweden, I'm super thrilled to welcome my next guest on In Conversation With as Jonah Andersson. Hey, Jonah, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Yes. Hi, John. Thank you. It was a great introduction. Thank you so much. And I'm very grateful and happy to be here today.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Do you know what? It's always great when a guest comes on the show. I always love looking up, a lot of the time I kind of know the guests because of community and things that they've been going on. But when I check out their profiles just to kind of create that little intro, it always surprises and humbles me, the amount of effort, the amount of work and the great things, people like yourself, Jonah, are doing in community at the moment. So the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for coming on and sparing the time first and foremost. So look, we've got some great topic areas to get through and have a chat around tonight. But
Yes.
before we start, do you want to give yourself a little bit more of an intro? Maybe give us that, tell us what you're up to at the moment in your career and how you kind of got there. That would be a good starting point.
Yeah, sure. I would love that. I like sharing about my story. So to those that who don't know me yet, my name is Jonah Andersson. I am currently based in Sweden. So I work daytime as a software engineer, to be specific, a .NET full stack .NET developer, and I also develop with cloud technologies. Specifically, I very love to develop with Microsoft Azure as well. And to start with, actually, I work as a software developer consultant at Forefront Consulting in Sweden. It is an IT consulting company based in Stockholm, but I'm currently in one of the offices in Sundsvall city, which is like mid north in Sweden. So usually in Stockholm, they have like they get snow less often as we do here up north. Yes,
Got
but
you.
that's
Yeah.
that's a bit about me. But otherwise, how I came into tech, that's a long story, but I'll try to make a short version of it.
Yeah, no
So
worries.
yeah, so originally I'm from the Philippines. So I grew up in the Philippines, and I started my life and career there, and uh, actually to make the long story short, I didn't have a plan or didn't intended to be a software engineer back then, long
Hmm.
time ago. I was born in the 80s, mid 80s, so I'm about 35 today. And the reason when I was in the Philippines, I when I was growing up, I wanted to be a civil engineer.
Mm.
uh, because I used to like sketching when I was a little girl, and I thought building something or helping out and building big buildings would be something great. But to make the long story short as well, in that long, long part of my life, my parents couldn't afford to send me to a civil engineering college in the Philippines. Back then in the Philippines, or even now, getting a college education in the Philippines is not free. So when my parents told me about it, I was kind of like disappointed because I want to
Mm.
achieve something in my career. But what I did, I was young then, I took the initiative to take a scholarship, government scholarship, when I was in high school. And I'm very happy that I was very happy to get a chance to be a scholar. So the
Hmm.
government sponsored my scholarship. I ended up studying computer science in the Philippines. And I remember back then, my first programming language was Visual Basic.
Okay. Yep. Cool. Cool.
Yes.
And so obviously, I mean, that's a great story, to be honest. It's like you say, going from having that idea as a young child, wanting to move into architecture and building buildings. It's a great kind of ambition to have, and you kind of moved into this almost like you say because it was something available to you at the time. And I'm presuming now, it was a great move for you because clearly what I'm seeing you doing, and the fact that you've not only taken that up as a career, but you're now moving to community as well and looking to help others learn the art of software development and things around Azure and cloud computing. So it's yeah, kudos, Jonah. Really
Yes.
well done so far. And look, let's kind of switch tracks then. So you've got this role at the moment now. You're well into software development. When you kind of, from a technical point of view, looking at software development, what is it about kind of cloud platforms? Because you are an Azure MVP yourself, so
Yes.
clearly you're focused on that particular brand of cloud, let's say. What is it about software development on a cloud platform that kind of keeps you motivated?
Yes, I love that question, John. Because when you ask that, you can see in my like my passion comes out there directly.
Mm.
I love developing with cloud solutions, especially with Microsoft Azure, because as a developer, full stack developer, like you get to see the back end, front end, and the business side of everything. Um, Working with cloud inspires you or motivates you and even challenge you to learn all the time, which I as a person love. I like learning a lot, and every time I learn new things, the more I get triggered to be better in what I do. And that's the great
Mm.
thing about Azure and cloud communities we have, because the internet is made available for us to learn as much as we can. It's just the time that we don't have enough
Yeah, yeah, you're
today.
not wrong. Absolutely. So, I mean, in terms of your journey to kind of learn some of these things, how has that been for you? Because I'm assuming when you did, your initial studies and you moved into software development, using Visual Basic, cloud and the cloud platform was kind of a figment of everybody's imagination, I guess, kind of only 10 years ago or so, it was kind of not as prevalent as it is. How have you
Yes.
found that adaptation to taking those concepts that you learned, moving through your career to finally arriving and working with cloud technology? Are there any key things that you'd like to point out that challenges or hurdles that you've had to overcome, Jonah?
Yes, good question. Thank you. So when it comes to the career, that path that I have, as you noticed or explained, my career started when I studied computer science, and then first programming language was Visual Basic. But and it back then I was sitting on a CDR computer or tube computers. But today I'm working with modern programming languages like C Sharp and other tools, even serverless and cloud and Azure. And what
Mm.
I learned is that, which makes cloud computing very interesting to learn. It's because you get to go, your career get to go along building stuff and great things along with the technology. So if you work as a developer, a cloud developer, you are motivated all the time to keep learning so that you keep up with the trend in Azure with the technology that we have. And what
Mm.
we do as well, I learned that it helps others. It helps our community. It makes every person's lives better in a way that we help build systems that saves time, and that's what I love about what I do.
No, and and I think some of the tool sets, obviously working with Azure myself, I'm on the other side of the fence, if you like, that operational side more than anything. But I've had personally my kind of stint at programming and trying to do stuff as a developer in years gone by, and I always get reminded, and certainly the stuff that, like the little side projects I do now, trying to learn some of these cool technologies. I found it such a fulfilling thing to be able to do, go and make something, using a cloud platform with some of these features and functionalities. You mentioned serverless as one of those kind of technologies, but there's a whole kind of plethora, a kit bag of tools in Azure. I mean, can we pick out a few of those kit bags and maybe hint around maybe how does one get started with learning some of these things? Is it as easy as jumping online and just going for it and learning, or have you got any hints or tips around how do we get started learning this tech, Jonah?
Yes, sure. So to get started learning with technologies like programming languages that I mentioned, like C Sharp, .NET, or Java, or even with Azure services or platforms or technologies, I think before you even start learning, I think the first zero step, if you call about an array that starts zero, and the first step that you need to do is to set your learning goals and career goals. And once you have decided, for example, you want to be a Azure cloud engineer, then you have a goal to do that. Set your time frame, and then use the learning resources that we have available, like Microsoft Learn, all the tech communities that we have today in Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, or MVPs. So, and also get a mentor. I myself is a mentor. So I try my best to pass on that knowledge to others, especially women in tech, because I want to be a role model and I want to make a difference in our tech society, with consideration that the women in tech are still underrepresented in some countries, for example. So I want to show to the world that, hey, I'm a woman, but programming or cloud development, it's not about gender. It's about what you can do, what you're willing to learn.
Yeah, and you're certainly doing that from my perspective, Jonah. I think certainly some of the things that you've got, you're showing, you're helping others learn. I mean, it's a great thing, as a dad of two young girls coming, into that age of going to college now and trying to find their feet. Certainly, you're right. The tech industry is massively, dominated by men, and I'm absolutely an ally of women in tech, and certainly, kind of, I don't know what it is, but it's just helping everybody kind of lift themselves up and
Yes.
showcase what can be done with technology, and how interesting and fun it actually can be, and a
Yes.
rewarding career you can have in this industry. So kudos again, Jonah. I think you're smashing it out the park. You're certainly a fantastic role model in the tech space at the moment for women in tech, so
Yeah.
keep up that fantastic work.
Yes.
I
Thank you
think
for that. I have something. Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
you carry on, yeah.
I had something to add on in that as well. The reason why I was actually motivated to be a role model, first, to start with, backtrack to my history. When I was growing up, I actually was very scared of public speaking. And now
Hmm.
here I am speaking with you, talking a lot about what I'm passionate about. But the thing that changed there, public speaking, going out, like from being a shy girl to a public speaker, adult woman, is that years ago, like about 5 6 years ago, I thought I was a teacher of
Okay.
programming to kids in schools here in Sweden, and I saw already in schools here in Sweden that there's like less girls are interested in learning tech, or even block programming, for example. So I want to change that by showing to them that there's someone like me who can also do fun stuff with technologies that we have today.
No, absolutely, and this is it. I think it's a great thing to do. I think in general, if I've spoken to a lot of MVPs, and not just MVPs, but people in the industry that absolutely go into schools and kind of help teachers themselves learn some of these concepts that they can pass the knowledge down into the youth of today, which I think is so important, and it's great to see. And I guess whoever you are in whatever industry, reach out. If you've got kids in, young kids in school at the moment, reach out to the school and kind of, offer some of that help, I guess. You mentioned there you were a teacher, so you were kind of able to do that almost hands-on for yourself with the kids that you were around. But I guess that's a lesson for everybody. Yeah, I mean, just reach out to kind of, if you feel a passion or you want to overcome some of these things, because let's face it, when you mentioned about public speaking, I don't think I know anybody that doesn't get daunted by the thought of putting yourself out there, it's a brave thing to do, and it's certainly a skill that you overcome in time. And I guess maybe if we turn our attention to that community and the fact that you've been awarded an MVP from Microsoft themselves, that says something about you as an individual and your desire and passion to give back to community and help others. I mean, what kind of things are you up to at the moment, Jonah, in terms of, you mentioned there as a teacher, you're able to kind of teach young kids programming. What are you doing? What kind of activities are you involved with at the moment to kind of help spread that learning message?
Yeah. So before I was teaching kids programming, but today, I mean, aside from I have like different circles. Like, so aside from what I do full time as a software engineer consultant, I actually make a difference outside work through my Azure User Group Sweden community that I started a year ago here in Sweden. It's an online meetup group. And I also do volunteer to mentor young women in tech, or those that are still starting out in tech, from different organizations like ulap.org, like a local organization here, like Bruin Innovation. So as long as there's opportunity for me to inspire, I say yes. But I also say no if I'm not able to catch up. If you know what I mean. We're busy with community. Sometimes you have to learn how to say no as well. You cannot just say yes, yes, yes all the time.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's definitely one of those things that as much as you want to give and you want to put out there, look, we've all got, we've got work commitments, we've got family commitments. I mean, community. I find it a fulfilling thing to do, and I'm sure you find it the same, Jonah.
Me
In
too.
terms of,
Yes.
I'm just showing up the Swedish Azure user group. Look, for those watching, we'll put the links in the description below. I'm guessing, like a lot of user groups, are you still running virtual events at the moment, or are you looking at in-person events, Jonah?
Right now, sorry, I was mixing the Swedish word there. For now, actually, we're doing virtual meetups,
Yeah.
bi-weekly Azure meetups right now. The group started during the COVID pandemic, so it's like a COVID
Hmm.
group. It's like because of that, but we have it virtual right now, bi-weekly, and the purpose why the Azure User Group Sweden is not Swedish, and we do our session in English. It's because I want to create a community that's inclusive and diverse, that it opens up opportunity for beginners of Azure as well. So that's the reason why it's a mix of all topics that we do in our sessions.
And you mentioned you're doing this bi-weekly, and just to pick you up on your point there around time and commitment, I'm right in thinking this isn't a walk in the park, so to speak. This does take some effort. I mean, how do you kind of manage that, Jonah, in terms of family life, community, and work? How do you find the balance? Have you got any hints around that or tips?
Yes, good question. I like that. I think the reason why I have time and motivation to do these things on the weekends, it's because it as what you said, what we do in the community like motivates us and energizes us. But I think it's more on being consistent and finding time also for this stuff, for community, and also finding time on weekends for the things that you love, hobbies, and even time for family and friends. So it's like dividing it in sections. If you have a big room whole week, you can divide it. So maybe it goes back to like maybe time management and finding focus on what you need to do to energize, to keep your energy going, because it's not
And
easy to do all stuff.
no, you're right, and the word that the words you use there, that time management.
Mm,
I remember quite a few years ago, I was put on one of these business courses, and one of them was time management, and at the time it was like, well, what do I haven't got the time to go on this course. It was almost like that kind of thing, a cliched thing, but it's such I'm glad you kind of pointed that out, because it is a skill. I think it is a skill to kind of to grasp, in the fact that to carve out your time and properly apportion your time to activities. And you mentioned about being able to say no to things, and I've certainly found that of late, that as much as you want to get involved with something, there's only so many hours in a day, and
yes.
I find myself running out of time. So again, they're very important kind of concepts to learn, and make sure you put the proper focus in the areas that you need to, with your own family life, work life, of course.
Mm, yes.
But I mean, it's great. I can see that it's a great user group that you've got running at the moment. I just want to flash up your website on the screen here at the moment. So I mean, talk us through your website. What kind of things can we expect to find on there? Because I can see you've got a blog on there. What other things
Yeah.
can we find on there, Jonah?
Yeah, on my website, Jonah Andersson, that text that I build myself, I actually just posted it. One friend told me, "Is this like a tech website?" And I said, "No, it's not a business website. It's just my portfolio where you can
Yeah.
see information about me, how to contact me, some of my like badges, and also some blogs that are
Hmm.
right about either community, Azure." So I kind of like mixing the soft skills, non-tech or tech skills, because I like technology is about people, and we need to connect. I think that's very important. So it's not just about tech stuff I speak sometimes or share about.
I think that's I think that's a great blend, because I think personally, obviously I love tech like you. We love tech, but for me, a lot of it is about those relationships that you have
Mm?
with the people behind
Yes.
the tech. And I'm just scanning through your website now, and wow, Jonah, you've been uber busy. That's been, that's really great to see how many talks, public speaking events, and all the sessions that you've got there, and they're all linked on your website. So anybody watching, I'd encourage you to start having a little sift through Jonah's website there, because there's looks like an absolute minefield of information you've managed to collate there. So congratulations on that. I mean, in terms of obviously keeping it like in line with that kind of learning theme, I know that you're an author at the moment, John, or you're getting involved with writing some book. Do you want to talk to me a little bit about that? How did you get involved with? Because I can think of nothing more strenuous than somebody asking me to write a book. I would come out in a hot sweat. I think, oh my god, how do you even get started, Jonah? And tell me a little bit about that if you can.
Yes, that's a good question. Actually, it's the opposite for me. Nobody asked me to write a book. I'm the one who asked, "How does it work to write a book?" And the
Okay.
reason for that, like about last year, or yeah, last year, like in the middle of last year, it's because the motivation why I'm writing or started writing my first book. This is my first ever book. It's because even though I don't have the experience, is that I had a cloud migration experience in the past
Hmm.
that didn't make it to production because of the organization or my teams or my colleagues lacked that cloud knowledge, and it was me, only me, that had that knowledge. And as much as I tried my best, it didn't really stick to them. So I want to, that's the reason why I'm an Azure MVP, because I since then I started sharing knowledge about what I know, and I want to create a book that will help IT pros, non-tech people to get an introduction and fundamentals and even overview of what
Mm.
Azure is about, considering that there's a lot to choose in Azure. So it's good to know what to use depending on what business case you're trying to solve. So that was my motivation, and I'm still almost halfway in my book. So I'm working my best to finish it up until the finish line today. So the first three chapters are on early release. The chapter one is cloud computing fundamentals. And then
Hmm.
chapter two is about the fundamentals of Azure, and chapter three is about Azure Compute Services in Azure. So that's
Yeah.
available on raw release right now.
But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, so to speak, in terms of you being a sole individual that maybe you've got some good cloud knowledge. I guess whether you're new into the industry, whether you're seasoned and you've been working in tech for a little while, we've all got that information in our heads, and I guess. I remember the times of trying to transition over to learn some of these new cloud concepts, and I think for a lot of people, there are a lot of people out there still maybe wondering how to get started with learning cloud concepts, or even where to start, or what track to follow. So, can I assume this book is kind of helping those people that maybe is it accessible to non-tech people or people fresh into the industry, so to speak, or seasoned veterans looking to upskill in cloud? Are you trying to aim that book at that kind of audience, Jonah, with what
Yes.
you're
Oh,
writing?
yeah. All of those that you mentioned, actually, not maybe for advanced Azure developer, but this is
Yeah.
my aim of this book is to create something inclusive. So in my book, you kind of like find the mix. It starts with the beginner's concept of cloud computing until you get deeper into what you can do with this technology, some code examples, but something that will help people or even new beginners to get started with a cloud career, either as a developer or an architect. So it depends, but hopefully this will be something. It's too early to say as to say so much right now, but hopefully when it's published next year, it will
Yeah.
be a good
No,
result.
no, I can see. So you're aiming for kind of summer next year, 2023. So no, I'll put a link in the blog that accompanies this video. But no, congratulations and good luck with finishing the book off. And it's I think that'll be an incredible achievement. So I just don't you know you people that are able to take on these multiple things as well as a day job and as well as family life, I always find truly inspiring in the sense that it's great that in order to progress your own learnings, you're willing to put yourself in that position where you're going above and beyond. And I think, have you got any kind of lessons from that? The fact that you got awarded an MVP, have you got any lessons that you've learned from that whole journey that you might find, useful for others to kind of know, or maybe people wondering what the community is or wondering why we would do these kinds of activities? Have you got any good pointers as around as why do you do this, Jonah?
Yes, great question. I why I do what I do. So I do what I do because of my passion to help others and make a difference. So that's the reason why, and also my experiences in the past as me coming from like nothing to now, and all the hard work that I did and the people that supported me. I want to give back to the community. And I always believe I'm a person that believes that the more you give, the more you received. And giving doesn't have to be giving for others, but also giving something for yourself. For example, the book. I'm writing a book about Azure. It doesn't mean that I'm the expert. I know everything about Azure. In fact, it's maybe the opposite, but I'm using the book writing as my way to learn about Azure as well. So it's a process and a learning journey that has its curve, but I find it also challenging and interesting.
I mean, it's really interesting that you point that out because I think, from my own observations again and my own journey into community, and I remember the time when I was kind of aware of what community was, but maybe not as active or not as part of a community. I didn't really understand what it was, or what I would have to do to become part of community. And I think again, you've said it really well there that whatever you put in, you get kind of tenfold back out of that process. And I think that's a great lesson for anybody to take away is that get involved with community. In as much as you can possibly achieve, or as little. In the sense that it doesn't take a lot. Just those interactions with people across a social media platform, or to the dizzying heights of becoming a book author, or becoming aiming and actually getting awarded an MVP because you've done some fantastic community contributions over that period of time. So yeah, great advice there, Jonah. Really, it is. So I mean, look, just to change tracks ever so slightly again. I mean, in terms of we've all we've all been through this COVID pandemic. You mentioned there that the Swedish user group was set up during the pandemic time, so it's still a virtual event. I mean, how has that treated you, Jonah, in terms of work and family life? Have you been able to carry on business as usual? Have you had to adapt in any way from working from home?
Yes, great question. Yes, so I've been to share with others. I've been working from home since the pandemic started, so almost 2 years now, and working from home pretty worked well for me. Of course, so I started setting up my home office here in the corner, and I have good ergonomic stuff, and I even sit on my desk bike when I do
Okay.
coding. But to make it short, remote working has actually worked pretty well for me. Of course, you missed having that chat with your colleagues in person, but it worked pretty well with my consulting job, with communicating with my colleagues. So I think in the future I would prefer working hybrid or remote as a developer, and that is something that I would have to negotiate with my current or future employers, that I would prefer, like, I can sit anywhere in the world and I can work from everywhere because I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, it's certainly been an interesting time, hasn't it? And I think maybe there have been a lot of roles where all of a sudden, because companies have had no option but to allow people to work from home, there seems to have been that really drastic turn of events where I think I'm a bit like you. I love the interaction of the office and going in and seeing colleagues and collaborating face to face. I certainly miss events, tech events. I certainly miss participating and going to and walking around the expo halls and getting the free swag. That's what I miss. I always joke with people that my pen stash is running low at the moment. But yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said where all of a sudden can we not emigrate to somewhere nice, nice and hot with a nice sandy beach in the background and work from there? And all joking aside, I guess the answer to a certain extent is why not? And it's
Yeah.
certainly given a lot of companies some food for thought there, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. My plan actually is that before I go, I mean, in coming years, 5 to 10 years, maybe, I would like to do hybrid working in a way that I can be with my family in the Philippines and sit in the beach there and do some coding.
Mm.
So it's like retiring too early. It's like you
Oh,
don't
I don't know.
while still
I,
young.
that that sounds like a good plan to me, Jonah. That sounds like a goal that is there. No, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
I think it's something to be said, and I think it's great. I think for a lot of us, where it's become the norm really to accept that if you've got kids or you've got family commitments,
Mm.
that it's great to see a lot of businesses have actually embraced that.
Yeah.
I know there's stuff. I don't know what it's like over in Sweden, Jonah, but certainly there's businesses, maybe they're quite keen to get workers back into office
Mhm.
spaces for various reasons, I'm presuming. But I think I'm an advocate of, if there's the productivity and the person is able to work from home and chooses that, I think that should definitely be there. I think businesses should
Yes.
absolutely be, and it's good to say. I think we I don't know, we'll wait and see, isn't it? I guess it's going to be
Yes.
interesting over the next year now to see how that all
Yes.
works itself out.
Yeah, I'm pro hybrid working or remote working, and I know that some businesses are adapting it, but some
Mm.
businesses here in Sweden also have started calling out their employees to start sitting in the workplace after sitting from home for almost 2 years. But I think it
Hmm.
will change the way we work, like everywhere. And cloud computing and technologies make it easier for us to work hybrid or remotely. And the main thing that I want to add up here is about like trust, like big integrity that you have, because some employers maybe are kind of like hesitant to have their employees work from home because they don't know what their employees are doing when they're working from home. But I think it's about building the trust between your employer or your client and what you do. Once you have built that, there's no problem if you work from anywhere. And that's
Hmm.
something that I experienced and built actually for the past 2 years since the pandemic. So my boss wants me to sit in the office at least once a week, but why would I go sit in the office if I don't need to? And it
Mm.
works pretty well with my clients. But I do go to the office for social activities with my colleagues. But I want to have that freedom to do
Yeah.
what I want to do.
I think that's fair enough, isn't it? To a point, and I guess I don't know. Maybe there's, like I say, there's lots of reasons why maybe businesses are asking for employees to return to office space. But yeah, like I say, I hope that hybrid becomes more accepted because I think there's definitely something to be said about, like you say, that trust relationship with your employer or client, that working from home, that outcome based work. You know, as long as you get
Hmm.
your job done, if you've got to nip off to take your child to a dentist appointment or whatever it may be, you fit those things in. And I guess the cloud and technology is enabling us massively, as we've seen over this COVID period, to work in that way. So yeah, let's hope that we can stay working like this. Hey, I think yeah, I'm certainly
Yes.
akin to it. I'm thinking
Yes.
of that sandy beach now, Jonah. I'm thinking about that, a nice
Yeah.
pina colada on the sun lounger there with
Yeah.
the laptop. Yeah, that's
You are
it's working.
invited in the Philippines if you decided someday you and your family.
Oh, that
You
that that would
can.
work for me.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. But
Yeah.
Jonah, look, it's been absolutely super fun chatting to you. There's
Yes.
always
Likewise.
one final question I like to ask all my guests on here. It's about tech. Well, it can be about tech. It can be about whatever you want it to be, actually. But you mentioned about your early retirement plans over to the Philippines over the next 5 years or so. But what about tech, Jonah? What's your views on? We're learning so many things so quickly at the moment, and tech is moving on at a breakneck speed at the minute. Where do you think we're headed in tech? What are your next big bets over the next 5 years or so, do you think?
Yeah, as a developer and someone who's very into, into cloud computing, and also with as a person with a computer science background that's working from those old stuff before, I think in 5, 10 years, the cloud computing is going to accelerate so fast in our lives in our modern generation today. And we also that are working in tech have to strive also to catch up with that. So, and also we as experts and skilled will be like pioneers or heroes that will be helping organizations and businesses or even beginners in these technologies that are still behind. For example, I have one example. In Sweden, there's a tool that we use to, like an app that we use to send money because we don't use paper money anymore.
Hmm.
And there are still old people that are still behind that technology. So we have
Sure.
that responsibility also in our society to help those that are still behind with our tech right now. And we together we can make it happen with the tools that we have also.
No, that's a great way of framing it. And I think that kind of sums up the awesome work that you're doing at the moment. It's all about, yes, there's lots to learn. You can break that down and you can really learn it in at a pace that suits you as an individual. But don't just learn it for yourself. As you learn
Mhm.
it, put it back out to the community. And I
Yes.
think, as you said, you get so much back in just I guess it's that satisfaction that you've been able to help somebody, genuinely help somebody learn something new or learn a new skill or mentor them into a direction that really suits their personality and their abilities, which is great to see. Jonah, it leads me to say now, are there any last parting words you might have to say now before we call this episode to an end?
Yes, no, nothing special except that this has been a great conversation with you, John, and I'm very happy that the technology, the cloud, is allowing us to meet virtually for the first
Mm.
time because this is our first time we met. So hopefully we will be able to meet in person in any of the conferences in your country, or if you visit Sweden someday or Philippines someday.
It'd be great, wouldn't it? I think that's the best part of it. I really love meeting people, especially like-minded people across the community.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure we can have a laugh and a drink somewhere at some point. No doubt we'll bump into each other at a conference. But Jonah, it leaves me nothing more to say. But thank you so much for being an awesome
Yes.
guest. Keep up the magnificent work that you're up to at the moment, and thank you for coming on and giving up your time today.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening or watching.
Anytime. We'll catch you on the socials now. Thanks a lot, Jonah.
Yes.